has an API, an application program interface, that allows other software companies to interact and to interface. So I don't have to leave Zoom in order to broadcast and stream live to YouTube. I'm having that available. Okay, so that is available. I have that going. And I have, hopefully I'll have everybody's camera up and running so we can document that as well. Perfect. So I got Brandon, it's coming in, and Soren. Good afternoon. Seeing that everyone is there. Okay, welcome everyone. We have a lot to cover tonight. I want to cover the concepts of, we are continuing with AI and the idea of artificial intelligence being incorporated in any software. And we basically also will do some housekeeping, see what's due for our housekeeping. I'll keep you abreast of what's going to be important in terms of concepts. And we'll begin. So if there are any questions that you have for me, I'll give you a short opportunity to unmic yourselves. Otherwise, you can put it into the chat. And then the third part, if you have anything, issues that you want me to discuss about, look at your project, about your group projects, about your groups, anything, stay with me after class and I'll stop the recordings and we will talk about that for the need to know. And hopefully everybody will get their cameras on. So I'm now recording, and now I'm going to be starting by sharing my screen. I'll share my screen. I'll open up. I can see here that we're on YouTube. We have our link here. We can see people, and we're using the enterprise version of Zoom. Good. All right. What's the first thing I always do is look at, for housekeeping, I look at what's due. And our date today is Monday the 7th. Normally, I give you a week's time to do your work. Last Wednesday, I gave an assignment of your phone voice AI agent assignment, where basically what we're looking at is having a phone number, but we call it a caller phone. Now, what's the difference, Lily, between a regular phone number and a caller phone?
An AI agent answers like the caller one.
Right, a regular phone number, I can text you, right? And basically we can do a video chat. I can call you, we have voice to voice, but it's not provisioned to attach a chatbot to it, or it's not provisioned to have a language model attached to it. So the numbers, the phone numbers, have to be provisioned to make that attachment. That attachment basically, Lily, is what? An API, right? An application program interface. What is interfacing? It's the phone number, right, with the chatbot or our language learning model. In order to do that, it's basically we want to attach not just a regular API, but a voice API. That's why that one company, they called themselves VAPI, right, with a V. Now you'll never forget, right? It's with a V, a voice API that we can attach. And our goal, not just to be, many of those bots have been programmed that they're not what I call intelligent. They answer the questions, but one is they can hallucinate. And in this case, Andrea, what does hallucination mean in AI? Do you remember? when you're hallucinating.
Is it when it makes a mistake, like it gives you incorrect information?
Right. Basically, like if I asked you to hallucinate, right? If you were taking, sometimes they have drugs, right? LSD used to be that you hallucinate, you imagine things that aren't there, right?
Mhm.
Hallucination. Unfortunately, some diseases cause hallucinations. If you've ever heard of people that have Parkinson's disease, they say at night they'll wake up and they'll see people that are not there. Their mind is basically is not correct. So basically, there are ways in which these language models, these learning language models, are not correct, and they want, it's almost in a way they're programmed to please. They're almost programmed to come up with answers, and when they don't even know the answers, they, in a way you can think about it, they take sources and they make it up. And one of the things that we don't want to do is when we want to give advice, Andrea, and let's say we're a financial company, right? We don't want to just make up things. You know, it may be good in terms of creativity if we wanted to make a song up, or we wanted to make up let's say we want to write up a romantic comedy, right? Me and you, it would be okay. We're hallucinating, you know, we'll have people in the stars. So one of those aspects that we did for this voice AI assignment is that you had to come up with numbers attached to it, your number, and put in your name. And we wanted originally to have a vanity number. And if I think about a vanity number, Allie, is what? What is the definition of a vanity number?
Is it the number that spells something out?
Right, it's a number that spells something out, that we know that the digits on our keypad have letters attached to it, so we could then have the numbers attached to it. For instance, Wismore Biz would be, we could then, what's the nice thing, or 800 Whiz Biz or something. That idea here is that the keypads on smartphones can do an easy conversion. You could write, I want to dial, for instance, 305, or I want to do 669 air open AI or something like that. It will then convert it for you. In the way that it's set up, and sometimes it doesn't convert the area codes. You have to type out the area codes. And what we want to do is, if a vanity number, the ideal would be our vanity number could be then our URL, and it could then be like branding. That would be ideal. Sometimes it's not able to do that. So we wanted each of you to create these phone AI agents. And then as a group, as your group project, you would choose the best one and attach it to your website. That's what was due here. And we had some readings about SAS and machine learning. And these are types of examples of open-ended questions that you could have on your exam. Your exam then, Allie, is on Monday, basically 2 weeks from today. So what I'm going to do, it's going to be on campus. It'll be in the same format, in the same room. And what I'm going to do, Allie, is I'll give a review already I'll give you a review guide already this week so you can start on it. Okay? My exam, I will not make it. This will be our second exam, and we will not have a final exam. Okay? So we'll have it in there. One of the things that you may want to do, Allie, is go to Notebook LM. And you're familiar with that, right, Allie? So what I would do is put in, for instance, an artificial intelligence, put in all the sources is a way. And this is what I did. And notice what is new. So I put in the sources, right? I put in the PDF of the book. This tells me in the beginning my 5 sources, but notice, have you seen this before, Allie, this mind map?
I've seen it, but I haven't used it.
Okay, it's brand new since the last time we had an assignment. Isn't that exciting in the way that you may want to even use it? Allie, what is your group going to do for their project?
For my final project,
Mm-hmm.
ours is about supplying AI solutions to businesses.
Okay, so it may be useful, I don't know, to even show how to use Notebook LM in some of the ways we can think about it. But the mind map, what I like is then you can generate that mind map that will give you an outline. This is brand new. And if I click and I open it, do you see this, Ariana? It's pretty neat. Have you seen this? So it goes from my source, it goes from artificial intelligence to machine learning to neural networks to data mining to SaaS, software as a service, and AI and ML. And then if I go to artificial intelligence, notice it'll give me the definition, key technology, the history, generative AI, AI applications, limitations of AI, the future of AI. And if I go to definitions, it brings me right into the chat, almost like a Gemini chat. What do you think, Ariana?
I think it's pretty cool and really advanced, and it could be really helpful.
Yeah, for even studying, right? And what I love about it is, and sometimes in this, we have so many topics, it breaks it down. So the sources define AI in several ways, right? AI makes it possible for a machine to learn from experience, adjust to new inputs, perform like human tasks. And notice here, they're giving me the sources where they're getting this. And then I can jump to the bottom, and then I can this is like a chat GPT to give me more information. So this will be covered in your multiple choice questions, but also in your open-ended questions. So this is what I wanted to add to you. And then you can, at that point, you can, you can refresh, you can do, are you sure you want to continue? You can continue, and then you can go to your audio review. And in your audio review, it's basically loading, it generates that podcast. And it brings, what's nice here, it brings frequently asked questions, of that frequently asked questions. What is artificial intelligence? Supervised learning versus unsupervised learning versus semi-supervised, reinforcement learning, basically training with, and what's the difference with deep learning, neural networks, and you convert to the source. So this is, I think, fantastic. And if you're familiar, Gia, Microsoft, they had an event last week, and what was new in their event besides their co-pilot was they said we can podcast. So Gia, where do you think they got it from? Right? Everybody's competing with one another. All of a sudden they're doing podcasts. I haven't seen it being done, but this really, they're trying out a number of different ones. And that possibly in 2 weeks, there may be additions to it, which is really nice. But I really like, for something like that mind map, I really like it because you can use it to get a feel for what is happening on the machine learning. You can get that idea of algorithms, and you can just kind of do that deep dive. I think it's really nice on neural nets. And then you say, well, let me kind of concentrate on that. It starts looking like almost that ChatGPT or that Gemini of the relationships between AI, machine learning, and neural nets. So I wanted to make sure that you had that that's available to you. One, it's available that you can go into depth on your own project if it makes sense. And two, of course, you can use it to study for the exam. We don't need to make it as an additional assignment, right, Gia? You know how to use it. You can just add the mind map. You don't need to practice it again. You can just put in all your sources and get that in by chapter. Okay, so that is available to you. So I know that this was from last week, but a lot of you have not covered it as much. And then there was information systems within the organization. And on the 14th, it is another chapter of business analytics. And your final project part 3 needs to be done on Monday before class, not at the end of the day, but before class. So I'll spend a little bit of time looking at it on if you can, those groups that want feedback already for Wednesday, I can give you that feedback for Wednesday. That's done. Lily and Allie, do I need anything in the chat, or you guys have anything to add or ask me about?
No, there's nothing in the chat right now.
Okay, good. Okay. So we're all right with that. The other part, if I look at it, and let me look at my PowerPoint, you have your PowerPoints here, right? That of course you can download and use, but also if I look at beside your PowerPoints that you can use, you can save them, right? File, save as it's a PDF, and then you can put it straight through for Notebook LM. Now we have something, and this is coming from our information systems, this is something that you all need to know, and this is called ERP systems, enterprise resource planning. So if I'm thinking about this, Isabel, I'm thinking about an enterprise as what? What's an enterprise? Isabel, what's an enterprise?
Oh, me?
Yes.
Like a business or a organization?
It's a large business. It's a large organization with many different departments. So we usually don't think of an enterprise is if you're having like a small little business, Isabel, and you're making jewelry, right? But what do we all know? What enterprise are we all familiar with, Isabel?
Just in general?
Yeah, that we all have in common, that I have in common with you. What enterprise do we both know?
University of
Intimately.
Miami.
University, right? I have a different role than you do, but we're all familiar with that. And what is the idea of enterprise resource planning mean for a university is what? Think about it. First of all, it has many students, right? That it has to take care of. And what does it have to take care of and plan for students? Give me one example where, what year are you, Isabel?
I'm a freshman.
You're a freshman, so you just started. So basically, they have to take care of you, what? Even when you apply, right? They even have to care before you apply, and they may even have to think about recruiting. So there's a recruiting department that thinks about you. Think about your trail at the university. And once basically they recruited you, they had to spend what? Resources. Does that come free, you think, to the university as about recruiting?
No.
Why?
Um,
What do they have to
like, you have
spend
to, like-
on?
yeah, you have to like, what do you have to spend them on?
Yeah, what
Like-
resource would a university have to spend?
Like
On
in
recruiting.
general, like housing and teachers.
Yeah, but even before, but when for recruiting, I have to hire a staff, right?
Mm.
They have to go out and do what? They have to do some data analysis. Who am I going to recruit? What am I going to place my resources, my money, my time? And then after they've recruited you, right? What do they have to do? Is they have to spend time on even you want to apply to the university. They have to keep sources on applying. They have to keep sources on what? Accepting you or denying you, putting you on a wait list, right? Then what do they have to do once you've accepted? Not everybody gets accepted, but let's say you accept, not all acceptances even go, right? Some are put on wait lists. And once you go for your freshman year, then what do they have to do? They have to take care of what? Your housing, right? All your areas. So think about all that enterprise resource planning just for you. That, and what does it mean? We have to plan. Do we do this all at once? Of course not. We have to plan in the future. Think about it in this case, Mark. What has happened lately in the past week that it's been unusual for the whole world?
I know that the stock market's gone down.
Yeah, why?
Tariffs.
We've heard about tariffs, right? We don't know what it is, but has it gone down precipitously? Yes.
Yep.
Probably gone down even more than what happened in the beginning of COVID, right? So do you think that the university needs to plan for that? Would that have an effect on the university? That this
Maybe a little bit, yeah. Not much for the
well,
students.
how? In what ways? Do you think the university has money in the stock market?
I'm sure they do,
Are you
yes.
sure they do? That they have to, even though they're nonprofit, right? They have to make their expense. You think it's cheap to run a university? Even, right? They have to just even the campus to keep up, right?
Yeah.
Do you live on campus?
I don't. I live in a house off campus.
Right. So do you have to come to campus to use their services? Do you think they have the lawn? Do you think they have the upkeep of the classrooms? All of that? Do you think they have to pay faculty? Do they have to pay administrators to keep up? And then when something like this happens, are they being affected? They may be affected by, do you think they have any grants? Maybe some of the grants are being affected. And do you think the students' parents, is their portfolio being affected, Mark?
I'm sure it is. It's been
Yeah, so do you
Sure.
think when they're gonna think next semester, do I want to keep on going to the university? Do I have enough resources to have my child go to the university, or should I send them to state school? Or maybe my child should maybe take off a year and go work for the family,
definitely a question.
right?
Yeah.
So all of this has to be planned. That's
Mhm.
my idea of planning. So when you think about any of this enterprise resource planning, these systems, it needs to be planned. And how is it being planned? Is it's interorganizational. What do I have? Who are the key business systems? They have a number of vendors. Do you think they basically supply all the university supplies all their food, all those vendors on campus? They have to keep in track of it. Do they have who's the customer of the university? It's the students, right? Who are the suppliers? Who are the distributors? Who are my donors? All of that has to be kept. Who are my employees? All of that has to be kept in line. So if I look at this, what there is an enterprise mark system is basically, you can almost think about it as departments in the university. This right in the middle is a symbol for a database. So if I think in this case, Michael, a database, ERP stands for what?
Go ahead, give me
Michael?
a second. Let me finish. Sure.
So ERP in this case, Jasper, stands for what? Enterprise what? Resource planning. Planning is done in the past or in the future? Jasper?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah. Planning, is that done past, present, or future?
Wouldn't it be the past?
Planning, you
Yeah.
plan for something, you're going to see whether it came, but a lot of it is in the future. They have to plan how many students are going to come next semester, right? They have to plan if you're going to come again. They have to plan what? Did you register for classes?
Yeah, I did.
Right. So they have to plan they have to plan what? They have to plan who's going to be teaching those classes. They have to plan what? The rooms that are available. Are some classes being basically limited? Of course, there's limited what? Resources. There's limited even chairs. There's limited sources here. So all of this has to be planned. So if I look at this, I have my accounting, I have my supply chain, I have my business intelligence, customer relationship. Who are my customers? My students, my alumni. Human resources is what? If you're employed by the university, they have many campuses. Besides the Coral Gables campus, Jasper, what other campus do they have for the university?
I think there's like a marine bio campus.
Yeah, there's a marine science and Key Biscayne.
Yeah.
There's the medical school downtown.
Mhm.
They own what? Have you ever been to Lennar?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so Lennar, do you think that there's any resources there? Do you think that takes any money to maintain? Of course it does, right? Even just to clean the floors, let alone, have you ever seen the equipment in there, right? To get scans, all of that requires what? Basically ways in which we can look at accounting, we can look at supply chain, and this is done throughout the organization. So in this core of what they call the human resource planning modules, if you think about it, it is just like thinking about it, Jasper, as all the departments in the business school. They have financial management, right? In that case, Lily, is all those financial reporting, all those performance, even that financial management course that you're taking, all of that has to be a module. It has to be integrated. So I have, for instance, all my accounting, but what? It may be down to the smallest amount. It may be to a school. The School of Business has their own financials, right? The law school has their own financials, the arts and sciences, nursing, the medical school. And what are they doing, Lily? They get money from the students, but they get money from donors. And what do you think? All these schools are vying for what? Resources. What are their resources? They're vying for what? More students that bring in more revenues, but they don't want to have it so many students that what happens? You're going to a private university and I'm not going to be able to give attention because instead of 40 students, I have 400 students in my class. What they could do is say, hey, put 400 students with, it's all online, right? Zoom can handle 400 students. Right? And Lily, I wouldn't even know you from a hole in the wall, right? It's like, it's another 400. So you're going to see here, I have human resource planning, extended marketing and relationship, and e-business. So this is the key when I am looking at any of this, of the benefits of the major benefits of ERP systems. When I'm thinking about it, the main benefits is that I can basically look at the enterprise as a whole. I can see, for instance, the School of Business is more profitable than, let's say, arts and sciences, Lily, than the medical school. I can see, Andrea, maybe what major finance seems to be very popular. So maybe what they're going to do is they say, you know, what's going to be in the future is AI. Maybe we should do an AI minor. Right? Maybe we should do what, Andrea? Maybe an AI major even. That's going to be part of it. And the problems or the limitation is it's so complicated that people aren't able to use it. So what you're going to think about the major benefits, you're going to know about the major benefits is of that agility. I'm going to be more I'm going to be able to ask a query information. I'm going to be able to do it. And the limitations is it's so complex and so expensive and so time consuming to implement as a whole that people don't get all the benefits out of it. So a key aspect in this case, Ariana, is what do you think, what trend is it going to be in ERP systems? If you had to guess, how is ERP going to be changing in the next couple of years? What technology do you think it's going to be added to that to make it less complex, less expensive, and less time consuming for humans to use?
AI?
Yeah, AI. I can say with confidence, Ariane, of course AI. Because what, Ariane, if you're going to be using it, right, and you don't know how to use it, you can query it and ask questions to it. What is the most profitable areas? What should I maybe querying? Or in medical school, maybe I should be also using more AI in medical school to teaching physicians. So basically, that failure, going too fast, insufficient training. What's the problem? It has insufficient training. So maybe AI can help in the training. Maybe AI can help discuss the issues. And what do they have? Traditionally, they've had on-premise. So if I asked you, Andrea, traditionally ERP, which stands for Enterprise Resource Planning Systems, traditionally were on-premise. That means that the university has their own computers and they store the software on their own computers, and the staff at the university maintains the ERP system, maintains the security of the ER systems, maintains the updates to the ERP systems. Where do you think the next trend would be going, Andrea? Instead of on-premise, where would it be ERP systems?
Like remote or
Or how would you get remote? Basically through a browser. What's that called via remote?
the cloud?
The cloud. You know these answers, and those are the two trends that ERP systems are doing. What, Allie? Being more AI driven, of course, and what? Being more cloud driven. Why? Because the university is in the business to do what, Allie? To educate. They're not in the business to do IT. They have an IT division, right? Remember they were in the class when we took the test? I had to get 4 people coming in to help me for just a simple test on computers. They're not what? Prepared for that. Did you see that? Some computers didn't work. But what they're being done? But if I use Zoom, what is Zoom? Zoom is preparing most of the time. Zoom is working for us, right? That's working. Blackboard is also a cloud service. Blackboard used to give services that they say, hey, we'll give you the software, you take care of it. And guess what university said? You take care of it. We don't want to bother to take care of it, right? So these are the kind of things. So what in this case, if we look at it, Sophia, is software as a service. You see this on the slide, Sophia? Software as a service, that means what? As soon as I see that, what does that mean, Isabella? Is it on-premise or software as a service mean that it's in the cloud? Did you hear my question? If I say software as a service, does that mean it's in the cloud or it's on-premise?
I think on premise, if it's like
Software as a service. What do you think? Cloud. What do you think, Soren? When you see software as a service, and what's the initials of software as a service? S-A-A-S. Is that a trend, Soren? Yes. Why? Because we as the university or we as a company, you want to mess with software that's not our software? No. We're in the business of they're in the business of teaching. They're in the business of research. They're in the business of the medical school of helping patients. So that software as a service, they basically send that to others that you can think about it. So notice here, 3 major advantages of using cloud-based ERP system is it can be used in any location. Companies using that cloud-based, avoiding what? Soren, the same thing. I don't have to buy additional hardware, and I'm going to spend time for the service and not to keep up the service. I'm still going to have to make changes on my own. I'm still going to have people be involved in my system because my university is different than another university. If I'm recruiting then, Allie, as a university, I'm going to be setting my standards different than another university, right? I may be more competitive. I may be looking for a different student population, or a different student population is applying to me, or a different student population likes this university more than another type of university, right? University has other ways. There must have been a reason, Allie, you decided to go to this university other than another one. I just imagine that you applied to more than one university. Is that a correct statement, Allie?
Yeah, I applied to I think 20 schools.
Okay, 20 schools. Okay, and we were lucky enough to get Allie, right? So in that case, whatever it was, part of that ERP system of getting it of a student ERP system is trying to figure out what are almost using AI to figure out, and machine learning, what are the characteristics of students that really not only like being at UM, be accepting to UM, and will also be succeeding after they graduate. Could we get that with AI machine learning? Sure could. I could even track you afterwards, right? And see how well you do and see what were the conditions of those students that really succeeded well and those that didn't. I could even track what, Allie? Those students that I wasn't able to retain. Either they weren't able to retain academically, or they just didn't like the environment, then they quit, or for other reasons. So it may be in this case, Lily, I may even decide with the ERP, if I could find those reasoning, I could go back and improve my systems to keep just like to keep my customers, or I got the wrong customers. Just like you were in a business, right? Like banking, right? There's certain folks that once I get them, I want to be able to do what? Give them more services. Isn't that what banking's about? Rather than trying to grab a new one. I have it already, somebody dedicated. So what are they doing now? All the banking company. I'm getting a number of notes telling me, here, we got a free webinar for you to figure out what are you supposed to do with your money. as all my resources are shrinking, right? Because what do they want, Lily? Is all those banks don't want you to take money out of their accounts, right? I'm taking my money, putting it in my mattress. Tariff schmariff. I'm having to buy something, right? So these are areas that I wanted to show you. Questions? Does that make sense, Lily? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yes.
Okay. So what is new then? What I can look at, if I look into web links, and Sebastian, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Under my web links, you can put a note, or you can put it in yourself to Daniel, is put this link on the top of my other 2 sections. This is
Okay.
new, where it is what? ERP stands for what, Lily? Enterprise Resource Planning. And it says, let's dive into the exciting, what is it? Cloud ERP predictions from industry giants. And then if I looked at it, it basically, if I think about what are the trends to cloud, there's something called agentic AI. Have you ever heard of that, Andrea?
It's like when it's kind of like a person talking to you. There's an agent, kind of like we have for our phone calls, right?
Yes. The whole idea is agentic AI is different. Put that in your notes. Maybe we should be even talking about it. Is agentic AI. You can even do it with Google, or you can even do it with Notebook LM versus generative AI. Generative AI creates what? Something new based on what, Andrea? Based on your prompts, right? You keep on prompting generative AI. In agentic AI, what they want is to perform then more complex tasks with minimal human intervention. And a shift more to autonomous systems in business operations. So basically, it's a bigger shift to basically have human workers work with AI agents. And that's really what I want, Andrea, for the future of our caller AIs, is that they don't hallucinate. When they don't know an answer, they'll call on someone in the organization to help them. So they could, for instance, say, Dr. Rush, there's a question here about your exams. Can you get online? And I could get with the AI agent and the being a human worker and basically the caller, and giving my knowledge, and then my knowledge would be integrated into the database, and the next time someone asked about that question, it would learn. And so you can see these are the shifts toward the rise of agentic AI, meaning that there's going to be in the ERP system the same thing. When I'm going to be talking about the students, when students call into the University of Miami and ask about what about parking, what about registration, then the ERP would have agentic AI with it, and then maybe the registrar would come into it, or a professor would come into it, or basically someone from financial aid. And the shift is also being what? Cloud-based. What does it mean, cloud-based? That everything is going to be software as a service. And so they're saying also there's a leverage again to AI-powered decision support tools, meaning that daily work at agentic AI, what does it mean then, Sophia? It works autonomously. It doesn't need a human doing it. So you could give, Sophia, just like you could hire an assistant, you're going to be hiring an AI. And but you would have to do what, Sophia? Still, you would have to, it's not going to completely take you away. But guess what, Sophia? You can't have it just run on its road by itself. You have to basically communicate with it and see how it's doing. And it's getting to be better. But what is also the problem with all of these ERP systems is what? Cybersecurity. And what is a protocol? If I think about what is a protocol then is a series of procedures that I need to keep it safe. Because guess what? What's the problem with ERPs? Let me just stop sharing. If I think about it, Lily, what's the problem with an ERP in terms of cybersecurity? Why is cybersecurity so important in ERP? And what's the key word? Enterprise. Why am I worried about cybersecurity?
Well, the word enterprise is like depending on how large the company is, there's a lot like to store. And so
In
having to
different
have
departments.
security.
So guess what? They're not just going to steal the School of Business's data. They're going to steal what? The
arts and
financial
sciences.
data. It's going to steal my credit card information, your credit card information, right? It basically, the university has investments. It may be getting to their investments and trying to take it. It may be purchases that they're trying to take. All of that information, is your grades up there in an enterprise resource planning? Yes. It's a separate part. Is all your GPA and all of that there? Yes. Is all your, if you anybody ever applied for financial aid? Do you think of all they're storing that? Basically, they're donors. When they give money to us, they're storing all that information. Wouldn't I love to have all the donors and get Griffin to support me rather than someone else, right? So it's all those areas that, hey, it's sensitive data. Remember we talked about data governance? Why it's important, who owns that data, who's going to take care of that data, who's going to protect that data. And if I just do the School of Business has its own little software running on an Excel spreadsheet on somebody's laptop, it's going to be quite different than if I'm going to put all the budget of the whole School of Business and the law school and the medical and all that data, all your data from medical. I can grab your information and use it again, and they can pretend to be Dr. Rush and get all the operations. They don't have to use their health insurance, they use my health insurance. Think about that. They can do 20 surgeries under my name, under my data. What does somebody know? So you see how, Juan Carlos, it's sensitive, that's cybersecurity. But basically what it is payroll. You think people are now just writing checks and let me get my piece of paper and writing it down? Of course not. So all that payroll, all that human resources has to be done what, Andrea? On an enterprise resource planning. Now they have a software just for, it's called Salesforce. And you say, hey, Salesforce is a big company. What do? They have a product just for, guess what? Universities. And guess what? One of the things is student retention. Guess what? Student recruitment. And what do you think Salesforce is doing? Adding AI to it, that I don't have to have just humans. When Andrea, let's say you were a potential recruit, that agent would have all the information about you and even know a lot about you. And that may be scary too, right? Maybe able to get all your social media, right? Everything is out there. But be able to track and almost see, it's like a marketing thing. Is Andrea a good candidate for us? And now we'll keep track of her. So they basically, the universities are buying then these ERP systems just for student retention and then for student recruitment, development, right? After you leave the university, you think I don't want to keep track of you? Of course I do. You'll be a multi-billionaire, Andrea. You'll be inventing something, right? Wouldn't you like to have your name on a building? I don't know, but you see a lot of buildings at the university. Why do you think they have those names next to them, right? That there are donors that say, hey, if I'm going to invest, maybe I'll do it to the new cancer center or Lennar. Why do we call it Lennar? It's a medical center, right? But guess what? Lennar is a big real estate company, right? That's based in Miami. And why did they give it to the medical center? Is their father that started the company was a patient, right? And they helped him stay alive for a couple of good years. Andrea, what would you want to do as a family? Is hey, have his good name up there every time you pass by Ponce. Okay, so those are the issues in which I want you to see it, that everybody's doing the same thing. They're all going to cloud. And within the cloud, all of the cloud then is becoming more AI driven for it. Of course, are there problems to that, Soren? Of course there are. Are there mistakes to be made? Yes. Is it as good as we want it to be? No. But it's getting better. Look at even Notebook LM. Just from the time we started, it's trying to get better each time, isn't it? still, but you want still your guidance to do it. And we don't want to have it to be, I read an article to say, are we all losing intelligence now? Because we won't have to think, right, Soren? What do you need anything, right? The machine will answer the questions for me. The machine will do it. The machine will get me degrees. But what about you? What contribution you're going to make, right? I forgot to think, right? So we're still going to have to basically organize and figure this out on which direction we're going. So what I suggest you do is you meet, let me emphasize again, is on this project, it's an exciting project that you can take with you, but it's also a project that is worth 25% of your grade. And if you do not contribute in a effective manner, you will be, just because you're in a group, you will be penalized, or you won't get the full credit. And it makes sense that if Soren, if you've done all the work, you don't, this is not a free ride for everybody else, right, Soren? You want to be able to do it. And not only that, you want to be able to get the contributions from everyone. That's the whole idea. And how to get that is difficult, but I just want to remind everybody to do it. There's one more note, Sebastian, is I think what would be interesting for us to look at, and this is for the group as a whole, when we ask for social media posts, Sebastian, and this is out to everyone, is what I think would be interesting is those people that are requiring to do the social media to use AI for the social media and to discuss what social media AI programs are out there. What do you think about that, Sebastian?
Yeah, they can probably find an AI that can just generate posts for them.
Yeah, but I'm just
I mean,
saying,
yeah.
but and also that the groups figure that out. Do you understand what I'm talking about, Lily? That just posting something stupid, or just as because I have to do it, I have to do so many posts. But the idea of almost evaluating software that helps us do it, because all the people in marketing, that's what they do, right? Now it's those people that post content. I think those jobs are in the next couple of years are going to the wayside, right? Because AI can start doing the posts for us, right? But it's basically, how do you guide it and how do you do it? A lot of those, I've met a lot of people that's their job or that's their business, is physically doing AI posts, and now they can do it maybe 90% more efficient or 95% more efficient by getting AI to do the posts, and they're basically seeing the value of it and seeing whether there's hallucinations. So I think somehow we got to discuss it also, Sebastian, with Daniel, and maybe you can take the initiative on that, Sebastian, is recommendations for what people can use, and maybe do some evaluation on it, because that's the beauty. Because right now we don't need to just do posts, but when you have the aid and show other people that it may be also good for other companies to give them that service. Or even if they're those ad agencies or marketing agencies or in-house, that they can quickly do it. I think that is of essence that we see. What else? Anything else? So Ariana, so what do you think about enterprise resource planning? So you think about Ariana, enterprise resource planning, what will we have then? We'll have at the university, we'll have then what? Each of our departments will be part of that ERP. It'll be what are you involved in? It would be in housing. It would be what else? It would be in our registrar, it would be in our recruitment, and it would be in our financial aid, it would be in human resources. It would involve each of the schools, their financial positions, right? Tracking the students, tracking all our vendors that supply us with, tracking all our development, all our employees. So we could ask in the ERP, find me someone that can be a guest speaker on AI and business technology. Right? Would be able to do that. As a matter of fact, my dean just last night asked, there's a request, and this person said, you know, would you speak at this, you know, conference for that's what we want to do, is have people talk about AI and finance. So they have to check to see where in their enterprise resource planning, in their database, under human resources, right? Okay. Anything else that I need to cover? We got it, Lily? So the idea here is we'll have the new chapters I'll cover for the exam, plus I will cover on the new exam. You can put a note there. I will also cover again chapters 4 and 5. So it will be the new chapters plus 2 chapters of which I think were the most important chapters, which was what? Database and security. Right, Soren? Those are the most important, because guess what? They come up again, right? They come up again as what is cybersecurity is going to be with the cloud. Cybersecurity is going to be with ERP and databases, right? What's the key of a ERP system? Is the databases. I have the data that I have, and what do I want to do? Is I want to share them, but what do I want to do? Have it be secure. Okay, so let's do this. Sebastian, you want to take care of the roll of the attendance?
Yeah, let me do it real quick.
We can take care of the attendance. I'll stay with students, helping them. And if you could stay with me, Sebastian, and anyone that has any questions for me, any issues, we'll do it. And I think we're on a roll. So Wednesday, what I will do is I will evaluate what you've done up to now, give you feedback on it, and help you go in the straight direction of it. And what do we say? 4377 looks good to me. If you be so kind, Sebastian, and put it in the chat. And stay with me. Otherwise, I'll see you in a couple of days. You need to work with as most effectively with your groups, and come with me with questions on what is not clear to you. And we'll continue. Okay. So 4377. So if you can stop sharing, Sebastian, and stay with me. And I'll stop recording.
Professor, can you show the code one more time? Sorry.
What?
Can you show the code one more time? Sorry.
Yeah, it's in your chat.